Let's get started. We're going to resume that. Sorry to everyone that the internet dropped. We're going to try tethering from the phone, and hopefully this is all good. So as you're coming back in, guys, let's get stuck into this again. I'm not getting up at 3:30 in the morning to not do this podcast. So, guys, as you're coming back in, we are ready to rock and roll. We're going to get started in 1 minute. Guys, thanks for the patience. The place I'm in should be absolutely perfect internet. We've had a massive storm overnight and there's like shit down everywhere. So that's what's going on. All right. I think we're ready to rock and roll, guys. To those of you that have just joined live, hopefully we don't have any issues with the connection here. So yeah, this is going to be a really, really good episode. So hello, Pam. How are you, girl? I hope you're well. Trent's here. We've got Marky Hunter here. I can see a couple of people that have joined, obviously, via Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. It's awesome. So you know what, guys? We're just going to get stuck and hopefully we have no issues. All right, so I think we're ready to rock and roll on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. Of course, this is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. How are you guys? I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful start to your week. Of course, if you're in the UK side, the US side, we've got to know that the week starts on a Sunday, right? I hope you guys have had a relaxing weekend. And to our Aussies, we are here ready to go. It is, 3:40 a.m. Bali time. I wanted to come up and make sure that we serviced and started you guys really, really well. Now, firstly, I wanted to talk about something that we're doing as an appendage, let's call it, to BBA. We are opening our free group today. We recognize that for most of you, that either you listen to the podcast or you scope our transformations from on the fence before you join BBA for many, many months. And basically the reason for that is completely relevant. You want to get to know us, you want to trust us, you want to make sure that the programs are right fit for you. And so you kind of watch from the fence, you make sure that you validate. And then once you get to the point where you feel confident, then you launch in. I did the exact same thing with my coaches, some 50 podcasts that I listened to first before I actually started to launch into their main program. So over the course of the next 3 to 4 nights, I'm going to be doing a very simple training at around 7:30 Sydney time, 7:30 p.m. Sydney time. So if you do want to join that group and you're inside BBA, I think this would be an amazing way to help you be reminded of the important stuff, the basics. If you're not in BBA, I think this is a great way to get your transformation started. So you will see the link inside the notes of this live stream, or you can simply go to betterbodyacademy.com/BBA free. All right, so let's talk. This leads nicely into today's topic. This is a topic that basically has come as a result of a message that went into one of our squads at the weekend. This is a super, super important topic, and I'm doing this because I reckon every single parent who has ever started a transformation will relate to this scenario. So I'm going to display the message here, and this comes from one of our new kings, Troy. He says, "Hey guys, just letting you all know that if I'm quiet, it's simply that my life is chaos at the moment. I'm still getting results, but I won't be getting to the gym for the next 4 weeks. I know I should come first, but my child is number one priority at the moment. I'm continuing to get the steps in, the nutrition in. I feel guilty myself for not getting to the gym. It's definitely not an excuse. I literally don't have any time for the next 4 weeks. Sorry to let you guys down as much as myself, but my life isn't changing for the next 4 weeks. No matter how hard I try, I'll still be here contributing when I can. Have a great day." All right, so what I want to ask you guys who are listening in live, Who here absolutely relates to this message? Say me in the comments if you really, really relate to this type of a message. Say me in the comments if you feel that you have been through this yourself. And let me know if you feel like, in a way, it kind of derailed your confidence, derailed your progress. The first thing I want to talk about is accountability, okay? Creating a culture of accountability is something that we've worked really, really hard on inside BBA and continue to do so. You know, our entire mission is to help set people up to develop the highest level of accountability. This is called personal accountability or empowerment, where a person becomes, very self-driven. But before that's ever achieved, we need to focus on peer level accountability, or what we call group accountability. So for those of you that are not in BBA or don't know what a squad is just a small collection of 5 or 6 guys or girls that we put people in when they start in BBA, and the idea is to get communication amongst that little pocket of people to help ease them into our program. And I think this message shows very clearly how powerful group accountability is. The fact that Troy went to the length of going to explain what was coming up before it come up, or as it was coming up, I think is testament to how important accountability is. But in the greatness of this message, I see 2 really big danger signs. And these 2 danger signs are so common, they bring so many people unstuck, and that's as evidenced by everyone in the comments here. These danger signs are especially common in parents who feel the guilt of dedicating their time to their health transformation that is in their mind at the cost of their kids. And I want to highlight these danger signs here and discuss them so that we can talk about what to actually do about them. So those danger signs, let's go. Number 1 is feeling overcommitted and overwhelmed. Danger sign number 2 is feeling guilty and shameful as a result of this. At this point, guys, I want to introduce you to something which I call the failure cycle. Okay? If you've been on and off the horse enough times, you're going to recognize this graphic. So there's 5, now to those of you that end up listening as the audio replay, I will talk you through it, but for those of you who are watching live, this is what the failure cycle looks like. It starts at the top at excitement and hope. This is when you start a new program, you're super pumped and you go all in and you're loving it and that new feel is there, right? And then what happens is that after a period of time, it doesn't matter how long it is, you start to realize that, hang on, I've got this bull at a gate. I'm then overcommitted. I start to feel overwhelmed. It's almost like the pendulum has swung too far to the other way. Maybe that you'd been completely inactive and eating shit, then all of a sudden you went all in and you were right the other way. What that leads to is this kind of need to just give up. I can't handle doing this so much. And we end up quitting. So many of us quit at that point in time. And then what happens as a result of the quitting is we develop this guilt and shame around feeling like we've let ourselves down. The final part of this transformation, rather the failure cycle, is rationalizing that guilt by saying, you know what, I'm not that out of shape anyway. I didn't really care that much. Of course you cared. You wouldn't have started in the first place if you didn't care. But can you guys let me know who are watching live, do you relate to these 5 steps? We go from excitement to overwhelm, end up giving up. We get guilty about giving up. We then try to rationalize giving up. We sit in that rationalization for a period of time until we go, you know what? I need to start again. And this cycle goes over and over and over again. Who knows exactly what I'm talking about here? And so the 2 danger signs that I picked up in Troy's message is number 1, that overcommitment and the overwhelm, And number two, that guilt and the shame coming through. This is why I'm doing this podcast. So let's talk about danger sign number one, which is the overwhelm, right? When you start a new transformation, you often make this the highest priority in life. You've put it straight to the top of the list. I've got to eat well. I've got to train well. But then you quickly realize that you've done that thing that you always do, right? You go bull at a gate, you overcommit yourself, and you get overwhelmed. It's like the fitness industry has conditioned you to say that there's only black and white. It's either you're following these ridiculous bullshit, unsustainable plans, or you're off the horse. It's either all in or all out. And let me tell you, that never, ever, ever works. I've never seen a client who says, I'm all in or all out, or that's it. They're never the successful clients. When we get overwhelmed, particularly as parents, most people, when they get overwhelmed, what they do is they say, it's too hard, and just give up. What I want you to know is that in order for you to be successful long-term in transforming your body, you need to be flexible and you need to understand that shit is always going to happen in your transformation. In fact, life is cyclical. It has periods of challenge that are there purposely to make you stronger. Now, if your approach only works when things are good, then to be honest, it's a pretty shit program that you're following. Trent's mentioned here, for years I did that. Not anymore though. Our approach is not like that. We value consistency over intensity every day because you're not a robot and you don't live in a bubble. In this circumstance, we're not going to go into the details, but Troy's kid absolutely needs his attention and prioritization right now. That should absolutely be the priority. And that's consistent with our plan. That's not failing on the plan. Our plan is not contingent on life being perfect and rushing towards some end goal that's not sustainable. You know, at every moment in life, there is a choice. In Troy's case, he can't make the gym for the next 4 weeks due to his circumstances with his kiddo. But he can choose to eat better than he otherwise would because he has to eat regardless. Just choose better foods. Choosing better nutrition, in fact, when you're in a challenging time, is going to give you more sustained energy to deal with the challenging stuff you're going with. Most people, when they fall off the horse, what they actually do is compound the problem. They're not training, and as a result of not training, they're all off the horse, so they feed themselves with garbage food, which takes away their energy, which makes them feel worse, and the problem becomes almost self-propagating. Does this make sense? Parents, I think we should take the pressure off ourselves. You're not failing on the plan if your capacity is temporarily reduced, as it is with Troy here. In fact, what you're actually doing is mindfully navigating a difficult time in your life. And here's what you should do. Number one, you should give attention to the thing that needs it the most. And number two, keep your awareness and choose better rather than be a victim. Does this make sense? Choose better choices as much as you possibly can rather than saying, I'm all out, my circumstances are fucked and there's nothing I can do about it. If you intend to play the game of weight management and health long term, then think about it. 4 weeks of no gym is a drop in the ocean over the course of a lifetime. Especially when you're looking after your nutrition as well. It really doesn't make a difference. Now, danger sign number 2 that I want to talk about is this feeling of guilt and shame. Now, we talked about it in the failure cycle. Who knows that feeling exactly? Like, peer accountability or group accountability is great. And I'm looking at the names of who is watching this live and thinking, yep, I know that you guys feel this. Peer accountability is great. But when you start to struggle, the feeling of letting other people down, letting your coaches down, letting your community down, actually compounds the shitness that you feel already, right? it then becomes this kind of double-edged sword where you feel like you're letting your kids down as well. And you just feel like a general letdown because you're not doing anything that you feel is consistent with what is the mission. It's a great idea, I think, to put your hand up and do as Troy has done here. He explained where he's at and said, look, I'm going to be a little bit quieter than normal. I'm here in the background, but I'm prioritizing this thing. I aren't disappearing. I want you to know something. You only let people down when you say you're going to do something, don't do it, and then disappear and have no explanation. That's when people feel pissed off. That's when people feel let down. And if you're constantly doing that in your life, disappearing on friends without explanation, or committing to things and not showing up, then to be honest, you should feel a level of guilt or shame because you continue to break your promise. But if you're prioritizing and you're saying, look, I'm setting a boundary here and I'm saying no to this commitment at this point in time because I'm feeling overwhelmed, that's not just no-showing. Sometimes you need to reclaim your mental bandwidth because it's been temporarily exceeded. And as opposed to you feeling guilt and shame and failure, actually, I think it's brave for you to take a decision for the best interests of you long term. Is this hitting? There's 20 people watching live. Is this hitting? When we get into this mode of thinking, oh man, I've done the wrong thing, I'm failing, I'm dying, and it ends up compounding. Actually, if you flip the mindset and ask, am I really failing or am I just navigating this period of time? Let's talk about discipline versus compassion. Sometimes in your life, you need to kick your own ass. You need to stop making excuses. That's the line of discipline. And M says very much, because there have been times, M, when you needed to kick your own ass. Definitely. In this situation, for Troy and for busy parents, anyone else, trying to create positive action from a place of guilt and shame, it's good to get you started, but it rarely helps you to stay the course. Think about it. Starting a transformation program because you feel shitty and horrible about your current self-image, that's going to get you really motivated at the start. But if you want to stay the course, you have to come from a place of self-love. Think about it. If you only see movement and opportunity, if you only see movement as an opportunity, you will only fuel your body the right way if indeed you love it and it starts to love you back. Guilt and shame are the opposite of self-love, complete opposite. And when something happens in life, like having a sick kid, the very last thing you need is to be feeling guilty when indeed you're doing the right thing. Does this make sense? Yeah, too many excuses we create, Dot says, and I spend my life kicking myself in the ass. Yeah, depending, Alison, on whether you're coming from a position of self-love and discipline, or whether you're coming from a position of guilt and shame, or I've let myself down again, because if that's the loop that you're in, it will never work. You got to control what you can and leave the rest. Guys, you remember back to showing you that failure cycle that follows guilt and shame, that is tolerance and rationalization. That's when we say things like, losing weight's not that big a deal. I'm pretty happy anyway. Plus, there's a lot more people that are kind of worse than me. I shouldn't care so much. That is absolute bullshit. Of course you should care. If you started something, it meant that it means something to you. Trying to rationalize it away doesn't work. This is victimhood, and I want you to start, taking this kind of viewpoint that shit is going to happen. I'm just going to navigate it. Not that the world is out to get you. Shit is always going to happen. It always will. And in order for you to navigate this, I believe you need two things. Number one, you need an awareness that allows you to look at any situation and understand what's happening to you. Not see it as a failure and suffer from the impending guilt and shame. That takes awareness, that takes practice, because even the most, person that's deep in their transformation, feels confident in their transformation, is going to get hit with shit And if you don't have that awareness in the moment, it's easy to feel like you're failing. The other thing I think you need is team support. Just knowing that you're surrounded by good people provides a hell of a lot of comfort. That's why it's called a support network. The net catches you. You shouldn't try to deal with shit on your own. There is no courage in the solo battle. Ask for help. Use it. Now, to Troy's absolute credit, despite the difficulty he's had this week, he still did his check-in. That's accountability. And guess what? Troy reported something big into the group. For the first time in 15 years, he's seeing double-digit weight loss, right? In other words, double-digit weight standing. He's now back under the 100 kilograms within 3 weeks inside BBA for the first time in 15 years. I want to make a final point about this parent guilt, guys. It's a point that I always try to make, and I want you to listen up to what I'm going to say here. It's a way for me to kind of cut through the mess and help parents overcome this feeling that they are sacrificing time with their kids to work on themselves and that is selfish. Okay, option A is that you can either, in your words, rob them of 2 or 3 hours a week now, which actually helps you to show up better as a parent with more energy and a better mindset, and will potentially add 20 to 30 years to your life, Kev Grant. Or option B is that you give them all of your time now, you just focus on them, but you continue to feel shitty physically and mentally, which actually robs them of your best love in parenting now and a potential 20 to 30 additional years of life with them because you die at 50 or 60. Like, think of it from a bigger scale. Too often, we're just so focused on the short term. We avoid the uncomfortable short-term decisions that could potentially benefit us in the long term. Perhaps you will always feel that level of parent guilt. Maybe it's never going to go away, exactly as I do when I drop my kids at daycare. But the reality is that it's for both of their goods, theirs and ours as parents. Otherwise, nothing would happen, and it's the same thing with your exercise, although at times you're going to need to pull back. Hopefully this has hit. I wanted to have a kind of well-rounded discussion about this, and feel free to pop in to the comments any advice that you think is worthy as a parent, because the reality is this parent guilt thing is a hard thing to navigate. And when I saw this message from Troy, I thought, whoa, stop. We need to just say, no, Troy, mate, prioritize the thing that you need to do. You're doing the right thing. And there is absolutely no guilt or shame that should be going with this feeling at all. Don't detach yourself from the process. Let's get back on the horse when this little bit of a difficult time has passed. And if you're always operating with that consciousness or that awareness, you're going to be fine over the long term. As a final note, if you would like to get involved in our free group, there is a link in the description here of the live, or alternatively, you can go to betterbodyacademy.com/BBA free. And at 7:30 tonight, we're going to be running a very basic training to help remind you of the basics or get you started again on your transformation journey. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs, and I'll see you in the next episode.